Good morning, happy Monday. I am Dawn Vason and you are tuned into Monday's Mountain, your 5-minute motivational video to overcome the mountain that is in your way of success this week. And this week we're going to talk about the 4 types of habits. So real quick, habits by definition are predetermined patterns of behavior that we use to automate our daily lives, right? So habits kind of really just fall into 4 different categories. This doesn't really mean like they're good or bad habits. These are just kind of the categories that they kind of fall into. And those 4 categories are, number 1, avoidance. Number 2, regimental. Number 3, unconscious. And number 4, active habits. And so the goal of a wellness plan is to get you to a point where you are practicing more active habits and really mindful of what it is that you're doing and what you're practicing. So let's go into depth about the 4 kinds of habits and what they are and what they mean. Category number 1, avoidance. These are these addiction habits, right? Habits that we usually need to seek a counselor or seek some sort of help to try to break. And the habits that fall into this category would be smoking, drinking, gambling, drugs, things of this sort. And they're usually, those filler things, those habits that we pick up in order to avoid what's really going on in our day-to-day lives. So there you go, avoidance. So the next category would be regimental habits. And an example of this would be like if you have this routine of coming home every day after work and just hopping in the shower, and you do it haphazardly, you're not really thinking about it, you're not really conscious, it's just a thing that you do, and you kind of feel like you can't do it any other way. Like if you don't do these habits, like all is lost. And the thing about that is it causes you to not be mindful, and you can miss beautiful moments because you're like attached to these habits and the fact that you have to do it. It's almost like an OCD thing. So those would be regimental habits. And a way that you can break this would be to switch things up. Do things a little different. Maybe not take a shower when you get home from work. Maybe when you get home from work, you sit down, you have a cold beer, hang out, maybe watch an episode of your favorite show, or maybe pick up a book. Just switch things up so that you don't fall into the trap of everything being exactly the same. Number 3 is unconscious habits. The things that we don't necessarily see in ourselves, but maybe others see in ourselves. A good example would be maybe a friend or family member tells you that you have a habit of being lazy and you don't really see it, but they tell you that you have this habit and you're just unconsciously like that. I actually have a habit of kind of twisting my mouth when I talk, and my husband points that out. I don't really notice that I do it, but he says it all the time. Like, why do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. And my husband has unconscious habits. He makes this weird like clicking noise in his throat, and he doesn't realize that he does it. And kind of when I point it out to him, he's like, I didn't do it. Yeah, you did. So these are the unconscious things, the things that we just do, and we don't even realize that that's what we're doing, but that happens unconsciously. Other unconscious habits would be being judgmental, being pessimistic, other things like that. Those personality traits that you don't realize that you are or do, and let's make it up. Will be active habits, and these are the habits that you do that don't really have a goal in mind. These are the things that kind of lead to that contempt, that happy, that whole feeling. And some of the active habits that I practice would be yoga and meditation. These are things that I do. I'm conscious of what I'm doing. I'm mindful of what I'm doing. I do them on purpose. I do them intentionally to relieve stress and ease anxiety. And these are the active habits that we do. So when we start a wellness plan, you want to get to a point where your habits become active habits and you're completely aware of what it is that you're doing, you're saying, you're being, and all of these things make up these healthy habits for optimal health. So over the course of the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about habits, and this month in particular, I wanted to be talking about mental health habits for optimal mental health. Like these things that you can do that are going to make you feel better, right? Mental health is something that is extremely important. We're going to focus on that this month, and I want you guys to understand the importance of optimal mental health and how you can get to a point where you are in a good space and no one can take you out of that good space, because then you feel good about yourself and everything that you have planned for the rest of the year. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining me for Monday's Mountain. I hope that you have a fabulous day and have a fabulous week, and do not let any of these habits stand in the way of your success this week.